Hello everyone, welcome to MediaNama. A rule related to penalties for hit and run cases under the newly passed criminal law Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita Act 2023 has sparked protests by drivers across the country. Early January, the Telangana Gig and Platform Workers Union also extended their support to the protesting drivers. The rule in question is the Section 1062 of the Act. So, what's so problematic about this law? MediaNama journalist Vallari Sanzgiri will help us understand this and other related issues. Hi, Valerie. So, what does this rule say, and what are the main concerns raised by the drivers?
Yeah. Hi, Saraswati. The provision in the latest law, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, says that if there is a death by, say, rash and negligent driving of a vehicle, which doesn't amount to a homicide, it's not an intentional act of murder, but it's something that happens, and the driver does not report it to the police officer or a magistrate, then it says that a person is liable to a penalty that can extend to 10 years or even a fine, which some publications are saying amounts to around 7 lakh, although I haven't seen it in any official document. Like I haven't, but that's what the publications generally are saying. So now the thing is that section 106 actually has two subsections. The first one talks about harms, and the second one here talks about death. And this is the second one that the drivers are raising contention about, because they are saying that, first of all, the phrase rash and negligent driving, it doesn't really provide for the categories that there are in case of such incidents. So, for example, a driver might be drunk when he is driving and then harm someone, and that is something that is on the driver, right? It is the driver's fault for drinking and then driving. But say that the roads are not properly maintained, or the lighting is not proper in the area that the driver is driving along, then it can't be said that the penalty should be the same for this person as it is for the person who is drunk and driving. Also,
Right,
suppose a person actually dies and a person survives the death but gets in a near death position. Again, these kind of nuances are not really specified in the provision, which is a big concern for the drivers, because they are concerned that it will be easy for say corrupted parties to manipulate this provision to use it against them. So even gig workers who often have to, as we all know, cover areas which are probably not well lit, or the CCTVs are not working over there. So often they also do not have the evidence to prove कि भाई ये गलती से हुआ, it was an accident. So because of that, they are
hmm.
protesting, saying that this provision is not well thought out and that it needs revisions, it needs proper discussions with the stakeholders involved. And then you can go ahead and enforce this law, which the fine itself going up to 7 lakh allegedly, and
Hmm.
an imprisonment of 10 years is also quite high. So even that they have been
Right.
asking, it's okay, but we need to sit down and hold consultations on this. So that is largely the contention that these drivers have been raising, gig workers included.
So, why are gig workers joining the protests, and how does the rule impact them specifically?
Like I mentioned, gig workers also often have to go through these roads that are not well lit. And another thing
Hmm.
is that even if like we have seen in general protest of gig workers as well, the penalties often the driver himself or herself or themselves have to pay for it. It's not that they go back to the company and that get compensated for the fine that they pay. So on, even if it's not on the spot, having to pay a fine that might go up to 7 lakh is quite a hefty amount for a gig worker to pay, right? So that is one of the reasons that they have raised a problem with this. Also, the fact that it just says driver, it doesn't mention a two-wheeler driver or a
Hmm.
four-wheeler driver. So a person riding behind them or in the car with them, or just a delivery driver accidentally scraping someone, all of this comes under the same category and then gets the same penalty. That's a bit of a stretch, is what the drivers are saying right now.
Right. So, what was the previous law, and are there any safeguards in the current law that could prevent the misuse of this provision, like you mentioned?
So before the Nyaya Sanhita, there was the Indian Penal Code, the IPC, that they didn't really have a specific provision on what would happen in case of a hit and run. So it
Right.
only had a, a death in case of negligence, or injury in case of negligence, that sort of a section. And the officer concerned would just pair it with the Motor Vehicles Act and the penalties
Mhm.
involved there to give whatever verdict has to be, or penalty has to be given to the driver. Now, the Act specifically has a section on hit and run, which, to be
Mm.
fair, is not altogether ridiculous, because I went through the road accident in India report by the road ministry. And if you look at the statistics, obviously around 2019, 2020, the numbers went down about the for the
Mm.
number of accidents. So it reduced by, say, 2.9%, 18.6% during the COVID times.
Right.
But then it jumped back to, so say if in 2020 it was 3.72 lakh accidents, it jumped up to 4.12 lakh accidents in 2021, which is a 10.8% increase. And in 2022, it then jumped again by an 11.9% increase. That being said, the number that was given for 2022 is 4.61 lakh. And in 2018, this same accident number was 4.70 lakh. So it has just gone back to the 2018 number.
Mm.
So whether or not it is becoming a severe issue now or not is a different thing, but 4.2 lakh, 4.4 lakh is still not a small number. So it's not
Right.
entirely unreasonable of the government to have a separate section on the hit and run thing. But whether or not it's justified to have such heavy penalty, that is sort of the thing
Mm.
that we need to look at. As for
Right.
safeguards that
And
you asked about,
yeah.
so see, the law is enforced by a police officer. Now, if a police officer misuses any kind of law or act, they are penalized under
Mm.
separate provisions. So whether or not a driver has a safeguard or not would be, maybe a lawyer would be more proficient here to answer that question. But I haven't seen
Mhm.
anything specific that a driver can approach in terms of this, but a lawyer might be able to give a better answer here.
Right. And what could be the possible impact of these protests? Do you think there are chances or scope of anything happening here?
So actually, when the protest started, we already started seeing some impact. For example, in Delhi, our colleague Kamya, she got stuck or had to go in a very roundabout manner. I think a distance of about 1 hour went to 3 hours because of the roadblocks and the protests that were going on. In certain areas, because truck drivers transport fuel, a lot of people did not have fuel to put in their cars. So again, transport is became a heavy issue. And I think in Mumbai also, around 70% of the transport
Mhm.
strength was affected, or so I had read allegedly in a news article. But I now do not have the link to the article.
Yeah.
So the impact was clear, though, at least in terms of fuel being a problem, or just basic necessities like water and other things
Mhm.
being transported. That was becoming a huge issue. Although now, if you see the news reports, the hit and run protests are decreasing. You can still see some news
Mhm.
reports about some demonstrations going on in parts of Karnataka. But it seems that for now they are waiting for the government to re, redo the act, because I think around January 2 they had put out a press release specifying that they will hold consultations with the I forget the name of the union. I think it was
Mhm.
All India Motor Transport Congress. So they did say that they will hold consultations or meetings with that union and then take a call on what to do ahead. So there is no
But do you
specific.
think there's,
Hmm,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, is there a scope for for consultation here now that the law has been passed?
So The thing is that ideally what should happen is that a is introduced, then consultations are held, people are allowed to give in their inputs, it's open for public consultation, and then you pass the law. Now that they've passed the law, uh it's not unheard of that acts get amended, but
Hmm.
it's not the due procedure that is expected of any government, that after a law is passed then we will hold consultations with the public. So like I've said, the driver community has already given their inputs on what the changes should be, but how they're going to make those changes now and when they're going to make the changes, more importantly, because there is no deadline in case of an amendment, that is, there's no answer for that, at least from my side.
Right. Thanks, Valerie. For our viewers, if you wish to read more about the new criminal laws and other tech policy related news, do visit our website medianama.com and follow our YouTube channel for similar explainers. Thank you.